Hi, welcome to our latest episode of Sun TV. My name is Tiffany, and I'm excited to be here for the first episode of the fourth quarter. Senn is thrilled to welcome a portion of our students back to in-person learning, but before we get to that, Edward Childress has a message we'd like to share from Pride Alliance.
The Day of Silence is a silent protest of the erasure and bullying of LGBTQ plus people on school campuses around the country. A national led movement highlighting the silencing and erasure of LGBTQ people. Over 5 in 1 LGBTQ students don't see positive LGBTQ representation in their curriculum. Nearly 9 in 10 experience verbal harassment, and almost a third miss school because they are feeling uncomfortable or unsafe. Many LGBTQIA plus students and their allies would change their profile slash photo frame graphic on Friday in honor of this silent protest.
Moving on, Senn students and faculty have a lot of emotions about our return to in-person learning. Senn, like other CPS high schools, will have a hybrid model that we all have to follow. Students choosing to come back will do so for 2 days a week, and everyone, including teachers, will work from home on Wednesdays. Let's see how faculty and students feel about the various parts of this plan.
I really wasn't too surprised that a lot of kids selected to continue with remote learning just because I know that there are a lot of fears around COVID, a lot of unknowns about what um, coming back from a pandemic and returning to the building would even look like, right? And so some people I know have expressed that they prefer to wait until the fall, but for those who have chosen to come back early, I'm really excited to see kids back in the building. Really hoping that this can be a transitional period, kind of like a practice run, so that we can better prepare for what things may look like in the fall, and so that we can make sure that when we do all come back in person, we're doing everything that we can to support our students and kind of make sure that they're being safe and while engaging in learning.
I think I have almost half of, well, about 40% of my students are coming back. I think that some students want to come back to have interaction, to see people, to be out of their house. But I also think that some students have gotten pretty comfortable with remote learning. So it actually doesn't really surprise me too much that for the last 2 months of school, I think some students just want to keep doing what they're doing and not change up their systems.
I would say that like we've been doing remote, so I feel like I'm pretty well adapted to that. With the hybrid, we'll just have to wait and see. I want to see um, what things look like uh, tomorrow and then the week after, and kind of figure it out as I go. I imagine it'll be pretty messy to begin with, but hopefully within a short space in time we can figure it out and make sure that everybody is on the same page, and hopefully finish out the year strong.
The reason why I chose not to go to school and do virtual learning at home, well, one, I feel like it's relaxing staying at home. I get to have a lot of free time. I enjoy being at home because I at least get help from my family. I do also get help from my teachers, but being at home, I feel like I get to experience more love from my family. I get to spend time a lot by myself, getting to know myself. And I feel like it's more safe being at home than going to school, especially with this COVID-19 going on.
My mom isn't too keen on the idea of going back to school simply because she feels as though teenagers have a school life and an outside life, and mixing those two together with the rebellious mindset of a teenager is not ideal for her. She feels like it's just going to cause a spread within the school because in her mind, teenagers are just rebellious and they're going to like want to take off their mask, and then they're going to go after school and hang out with their friends and go meet up with other people and then bring whatever they have with their friends inside of the school, which in her mindset will cause a spread of corona. So that's why she's not too fond of the idea of high schoolers going back to school. Whereas for elementary school students, she feels like it's okay because they're not as rebellious as high schoolers are.
Glad was my reaction to the return to school decision for CPS and Senn High School. I think it's an exciting time of the year for us to return April, fourth quarter, spring, hoping to get an opportunity to practice with the drill team, do some outside physical training, get our robotics team assembled, and get to work on some of the robots for next year's competition. So, looking forward to it. I think it's a great time of the year for us to be able to return.
I'm very glad that students had the opportunity to decide what was best for them and for their families. I think having students choose to stay home helps keep those of us who need to go back in the building safer. Obviously, I can't wait until we're all back in the building together, but until that time, I know that we plan to provide the best learning experience possible for both our students in the building and at home.
I've decided that I will not be going back this year. I just don't feel comfortable. I'd rather wait out till next year. I feel like I don't trust like the cleanliness of the school. I wouldn't want to go and like put myself at risk. I also have family at home, so it would be like kind of messed up if I went to the school and like was around a bunch of people, got sick, and like brought it home. So I'd rather not.
I do want to go back to school, but I'm not looking forward to waking up early to get there. I'm interested to see how hybrid learning is going to work for myself since I am going back with students who aren't. But for the most part, I'm just happy to see my friends again.
And finally, Da'Shanae Underwood created a powerful piece about teen relationships and where domestic violence is a real problem. We found it very important to share her message.
Domestic violence is an extreme problem, especially since the pandemic hit. It rises to extreme highs since now everyone is stuck at home, including victims being stuck with their abusers. Unfortunately, there is no shortage of adult stories, but what sometimes is overlooked are teenagers in abusive relationships. But about 1.5 million US high school students are physically harmed by romantic partners, and those are the only ones that have admitted it.
33% of teens, literally almost 1 in 3 teens, have found themselves in some sort of relationship where they've been victimized either sexually, physically, or even emotionally.
As teens, there's a naivety to us, and the thought of us never thinking it could happen to us makes it hard to detect if a teen is in an abusive, toxic relationship.
Well, some of the signs are very common to other signs of students having struggles. They might be missing school a whole lot. They might be missing out on activities with their friends. They may always have an excuse as to why they can't participate. They may be doing poorly in school. They may change their personalities. So their friends notice that maybe they've become much more emotional or much more withdrawn. Also, in worst case scenarios, when those relationships become physical, there may be marks, there may be bruises that the victims are unwilling to talk about or, pretend that they have no knowledge of or always give an excuse. Oh, I fell again. Or, oh, I hit my head. Those things are quite common.
And the ways of social media glamorizing toxic relationships and just being a toxic person in general, aka having toxic AF, or just toxic in their Instagram bio, making it seem cool or a trend to be with someone that is toxic and who abuses you. Everyone wants a little toxic in their relationship, so it won't be boring. Social media makes it seem like it's normal and doesn't help victims come forward any easier or help them realize how serious the abuse or problems really are.
So, I can't really say that I've had friends who've necessarily gone through like domestic violence, like actually like going through it. But I can say that like in middle school, like looking back, it kind of felt like that now. Like back then, I probably wouldn't have said that, but I can definitely say like now it's kind of fishy, like a little bit, suspicious because like all the girls and the boys would like fight each other and they would like label it as play fighting. And it kind of just made you feel like if you weren't getting beat, like if I wasn't getting beat, then like nobody liked me.
These things can start as young as 11. 69.5% of women and 53% 28.6% of men, so more than half, who have been abused were between the ages of 11 and 24 when they first experienced it.
Looking back, I definitely just feel like it was just all wrong. And they kind of just teach you, like, oh, like if a guy is mean to you or anything like that, then he likes you. And so if it just kind of like put this unnamed rule that, like, if you weren't getting hit or if they weren't making fun of you or like saying things about you or like verbally abusing you, then like for like you weren't wanted.
As a counselor, as a human being, I would certainly suggest that people seek out help. They can do it by the websites. You know, we have some websites that you can list. DoSomething.org is one of those websites. Another website is thehotline.org. They are two websites that have a lot of information on things that resources to help out students. Talk to your teachers, talk to your counselors, talk to another family member. The difference being the abusers have to realize that they are responsible for this. Take responsibility, ask for help. Maybe there's anger management. So if they can get some help in regards to that, again, from a counselor, a professional, someone that they trust, they can realize that they can break that chain of abuse, being abused, abusing someone else, and having that keep going forward.
Thanks for that, Da'Shanae. Be sure to reach out to a trusted adult or to one of the websites mentioned in the video if you or someone you know is in need of help. That's all the time we have for today. We'll see you again next week. Until then, toots magoots.